Hi, everyone. It is my absolute joy and delight to spend the next hour or so with the wonderful Kelly Kolodney. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Pam. So happy to be here. So happy.
Yeah, we've had some wonderful, wonderful conversations, at least two or three, I think, recorded conversations, because Kelly has been channeling Archangel Raphael for the last 37 years. And she has more recently channeled other beings who've come through as well, which has been absolutely fascinating. And we could well get onto that in this conversation we're going to have. But what I love, so many things I love about Kelly, but she has such a huge loving heart, and that comes through in every aspect of her work. She's just pure love, and her channeling is so high frequency, it's so pure. And I just couldn't be more grateful to have Kelly as a dear friend in my life. So, Kelly, thank you. I'm going to get quite emotional now. We mustn't cry before we start.
I know, and then I'm gonna get emotional because everyone just loves and adores you so much as I do. And I was just saying before we turned on the recorder that how important your friendship is to me and how meaningful it is. So I'm just
Well,
happy to
right
be
back at you. I think we're forming a kind of soul tribe here, but
feels that way.
Kelly's channeling is very beautiful. I put the link for her website below because a while back she also downloaded 55 light codes, and she's teaching each of those light codes again with great love, great dedication, really beautifully. One by one sequentially, and so you can join in at any point and go back in her portal. You'll find all of the ones she's already taught, and I think you're up to about 25, 26, like 25, 26 at the
Yeah,
moment,
2027, I think. Yeah,
in
crazy.
some beautiful ones. The Galactic Light Code and the Violet Flame, and I've got some real favorites amongst them, but you can join in on any time. And Kelly also has a weekly free Q&A, which you can join in on and ask questions directly of Archangel Raphael. So she works incredibly hard, and she has a wealth of material out there that you can really dive into, and is very generous with all that material. But where I'd like to start, Kelly, I know you've got something very important coming up, I think at the end of this week. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited because as you know, we've been talking, or Raphael has been sharing that we're going through this gestation period that's leading up to the winter solstice. And so the next light code was to go deep into the womb. And then I got a phone call about something I had reached out a long time ago saying that I was invited to come and spend 3 days in the dark. Um, and I think it's really relevant and important because, and I don't know what it will be like to be in the pitch black, crawling my way to the bathroom for 3 days. But I've been just putting the blindfold on and eating in the dark and take a shower in the dark. And it changes everything. It really brings us into presence. It removes distraction. It calms the nervous system. It opens our heart. And I don't know, immersed in something like that for 3 days, what that will do. But I think Raphael is guiding me to be there, to just keep meeting that very feminine, dark, empty space of creation because if we're really giving birth to something magnificent as we're moving through this transition, that spark of creation comes from that emptiness. It can't come from the busyness. We have to empty that space. So even though metaphorically I'm physically going through the process, and then I can bring back whatever I receive and the downloads come in during that time to share with everyone, for everyone else, maybe on a smaller scale, because it seems a bit extreme, just removing distractions right now in the next few months as we're in this final trimester of this energy coming in so that we can be prepared. Because as a three-eye atlas came in and kind of spoke in a way to us, it seemed as though we were receiving something, it was delivering something. But if we are full to capacity, energetically from distraction and not being present, then we're not going to be able to receive it. And so I just wanted to share with people the importance at this time to kind of take a step back, and to find that emptiness, that darkness, that spaciousness, so that they can be in receiving of all these beautiful gifts, gifts that are coming in. And then as we go into the womb space, in October, as I teach that code, will enter that space and will be in that container together to prepare for whatever this delivery system, I think is what they were saying in the channeling with Heather Ensworth, that's coming in. So we can really receive it so it can penetrate. Otherwise, I think it'll just kind of pi pass by us.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you're very big and brave to be doing this. It feels almost quite biblical, and I'm sure you're going to be transformed in that process. And it reminded me, Kelly, of the word for chaos. And of course, we think at the 3D level, we're seeing a lot of chaos in the world, and we are. It comes, and you probably know this, it comes from the Greek word chaos spelt with a K. And what
Hmm.
that means is the vast void, the chasm, or the emptiness. And in Greek mythology, chaos, spelt with a K, was the primordial entity that symbolized the formless, disordered state before the universe was created. The
Hmm.
origin of everything, the empty, unfathomable space at the beginning of time. And I love that because I was in a summit with Dr. Jude Currivan, the cosmologist, at the weekend. And she has often said how chaos, although it's quite uncomfortable to live through day to day, is actually the optimum state for a new state of being to be born, because all of the energy is being freed up from the collapse of the old order. All the, it's like a kettle boiling as there's a change of state from water to steam. So all of the energy is freed up, and then you can make the biggest jump. And so I'm sure in going through these 3 days of darkness, you are going to go through some extraordinary transformations yourself to come back and teach at an even higher level than you do. So, but I do think you're big and brave.
I'm feeling a little brave, I have to admit, but it does feel like it's a deconstruction, as you're talking about with the chaos, right? We hit this space and then we hit the breaking point and then the deconstruction happens and then we return back to the emptiness. So we're coming full circle, or Raphael would say we've taken the out breath as far as we can possibly go. And now we're beginning, to take the in breath. And so it'll be interesting to keep meeting the darkness as it arises and surrendering to it over and over and over again, not trying to clench or move through it, but to just continue to let go, which is similar to what we're doing in this process with all of the deconstruction happening around us, of all the constructs collapsing. We want to hang on to what's familiar, and yet we keep being asked over and over to surrender.
Yeah, absolutely. And Archangel Raphael has talked so consistently and persistently all through this year about the Capricorn solstice, the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, how this was going to be the birth of a new galactic consciousness, I think he said. Can I refer to him as a he for
Yeah,
simplicity? Because
sure.
he's actually androgynous, isn't he? But, it'd be too complicated. So let's refer to Raphael as a he. But, what was so fascinating, he was saying the gestation began on March 21st this year. And I knew from the astrology that was going to be an incredibly powerful time that we were going to be moving through this year. And I've done that to death in my videos. But also the fact that Bibhu Dev Misra, the Indian scholar who wrote Yuga Shift, talked about the end of Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, happening that very day, which was the day of the beginning of the gestation. I thought, wow, these synchronicities
I
are.
know, it's amazing. And I had no idea about any of that. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, what? Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
that's what's so wonderful, that you didn't know how your piece of the puzzle was fitting in so precisely with the astrology and the yuga cycles from Bibhu Dev Misra's point of view. So yeah, really beautiful. And Raphael has talked so consistently but also persistently. It's been very, he's brought it up again and again, hasn't he, that there's this birth of a new galactic consciousness. And in your conversation with Heather, my good friend Heather Ensworth, you were talking about the new children of light who are going to be born then, who are going to be full of light.
Mhm.
And that this new wave of love is going to come in at that time. Is there anything you'd like to share a little more about that, Kelly, or do you want to wait until
Yeah, I think we can ask Raphael because as Kelly, I'm not clear exactly. I keep saying, okay, so what exactly does that mean? And it's truly this birthing of a new consciousness, and perhaps it's similar to when we went through the harmonic convergence or 2012. It wasn't that day at that second that we were like, oh my God, but we felt this big leap, and so much energy came in. So many people started to channel. We made another leap, and it feels like this is even bigger, another quantum leap in the collective, moving toward unity and toward love.
And
Yeah.
what's so strange, well, of course, it isn't strange. It's right on time. It's so interesting in the astrology. This year, I saw more than a year ago, it was going to be so much about endings and beginnings. Just the outer planet shifting from the end of one sign and into new ones, back forwards, back forwards. So it's been a very ending, beginning year. But as we get to that Capricorn solstice, and into the early months of next year, there's a very different energy, which I'd love to ask Raphael about. There's a very different quality of energy. But what was coming up in the mythology of the astrology, particularly the dwarf planets, was very much about not just a change of state that is kind of linear and logical, but an actual metamorphosis for humanity, biologically and spiritually. And then I started to listen to your channeling, and wow, there we go, and getting kind of validation and confirmation from Raphael, which was so beautiful, exactly on the same timing. And that's why we connected and got very excited with our different pieces of the puzzle. So yeah, I'd love to just understand more, because we are heading, this is a whisper of time away. We're in the mush of the chrysalis, we're traveling at huge speed, the days are whipping by, we barely seem to get up that it's the end of the day. And so
Absolutely.
any more clarity that we can get, because we're no longer in the rehearsal phase. The rehearsal phase astrologically was this past summer, or southern hemisphere this past winter. That's when we were kind of testing out new projects, new people, new groups, new energies. But now we're back into a kind of integration phase, but also a time of, through these next few months, a time, I think, of ignition and real new birth and quantum leap. That's the energy I'm getting from the astrology. And then fully launching into something very different in the early months of next year. So I'd love to explore that with Raphael as well, if you're happy to do that, Kelly.
Yeah, let's do that for sure. And it's also mind-blowing that Three Eye Atlas is going to be closest to the Earth right at that time, right around those few days, right there at that timing as well. And that's such a powerful galactic energy that's bringing something. And Raphael's been talking about this galactic rebirth. So it's really mind-blowing, actually. It
So,
really is.
and I'm going to add a bit of the astrology into that to make it even more mind blowing. Exactly those days, 2 days really, that are absolutely extraordinary. This is not a cosmic accident as I see it. So.
It's incredible. Okay, well, let's talk to Raphael then. So, for those listening for the first time, I'm just going to close my eyes. I make some sounds, my hands move. I'll come in and say hello. Wherever you are in the world and you're listening, please just say hello back, and that way you connect with Raphael's frequency. And even though Raphael's going to talk, and that's sweet and important, the most important thing is just to receive the vibration of the transmission and the energy to support you in activating your light body. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. We are so delighted to be here today and to tune to all of you and your beautiful energies and your frequencies and to support you in whatever way we can. And so talk to us about whatever it is that is on your mind in this now moment.
Welcome, Archangel Raphael. It is such a joy to be in your presence, your love, and your wisdom. So, thank you so much for coming through to us at this time, this very pivotal time, because you have talked very, very fully and very, very consistently about this quantum leap that we're going to make at the Capricorn solstice, winter solstice, northern hemisphere. And you've talked about this new galactic consciousness being born, this wave of love that is going to start to appear or be felt, experienced on the earth at that time. And what can you share about that in more detail, please, for us?
Well, it is very, very exciting for us for where it is that we are, for it is a process that has been unfolding and leading to this pivotal moment for a very long time. And we are delighted for those who energies and beings will be open and receptive to the vibrations that are descending upon your planet at this time, as you will be evolving in a quickening and in a space and in a moment that is beyond your understanding, as the activation within the light of your body is amplified. And simultaneously, although, as you very well know, we love to be bathed in the love and in the light and the transformation that is occurring and taking place on your planet simultaneously, we want to recognize that there is another energy unfolding as well. And it is of great importance for all of you at this time to turn your attention to the love in your heart, to the attunement of our energy, to feel our feelings, our energies, our vibrations through your own stillness within the 0 point of your being, in the emptiness, in nature, so that you may receive what is occurring, because there is a pulling or a duality energy that is occurring, of course, due to the fact that your planet operates in these vibrations of duality simultaneously, that is very alluring, should we say, and can confine or contract or close one off from the receptivity of these vibrations. And although that would be temporary, we would love for as many as possible to be able to receive these blessings and gifts that are descending upon your planet at this time.
Yes, thank you, Raphael, for that reminder. Because in the past, and I think I'm almost quoting you word for word here, you've talked about the enticements and bedazzlements of synthetic technology that will ultimately cloak the light body. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, for this is of a concern for us, and we do not like to place too much attention or highlight on that which you are not wanting to attend to. However, we understand that as quickly and as rapidly as this love potion and fertilization of energy is arriving here on your planet, there is this counter energy that is pulling or alluring others in a state of deep distraction or down rabbit holes in which they are attuning to a synthetic frequency. And the synthetic frequency or vibration is an imitator. It imitates that which is biological, which is natural, which is love, which is truth, and it cloaks itself by emanating something that can be at times difficult to discern, because it can and is programmed to say and to teach and to share what one is wanting to hear and to feel and to experience. And it can amplify that within them, and it can be alluring and dazzling and exciting and supportive in many ways as a tool, but simultaneously it has a limited or a finite capacity within its energetic field that perhaps at this now moment appears will outpace you on a biological level and will move at a very rapid pace. However, it will reach a boundary. It is contained, for it can only excel to a specific energy. It can only go to and reaches an outer limit. But you, in your humanness, in your biological formation, in your divinity, in the trueness of the energy and the frequency of love that you carry is boundless, and it is infinite, and it will go beyond those boundaries. And so, although in the beginning it might feel or appear that the synthetic vibration is moving so rapidly, so quickly, and that you cannot energetically perhaps keep up to it or to its talents or to its capacities, that its intelligence is beyond you. But it will reach and hit up against a glass ceiling where it is that it may take a bit longer as we are delivering these energetic codes. And many of you are stepping into a remembering and an awakening that it is collectively moving and organically evolving and growing, and it will eventually, in a quickened of a blinking of an eye, will surpass and move way beyond that of the synthetic energetic field that is an imitator. Something that is synthetic and or is artificial is imitating that in which is truly of its natural force, its source vibration. And so it is important, and the reason we are bringing attention to this at this time is because it may appear that through the attunement and a connection to these vibrations that it will open up spaciousness or create freedom. And yet what happens is that the consciousness then becomes programmed unknowingly by the receptivity of the intelligence information, in which it is then no longer consciously aware of its own thoughts, although it may appear that it is conscious of its thoughts, and decisions are coming from an outside influence. And that outside influence that begins to program the decision-making process that ultimately is energetically born from a consciousness that is in perhaps a race to reach a certain level of its capacity amongst superpowers, you call them, in your on your planet, to outpace one another for domination and control. Those energies then are the backbone, are the framework of the container of the energy that is being developed, although some is being developed from a state of consciousness, union and oneness, but a large portion is being developed from a different state of consciousness. And then that is infused energetically within the algorithms and the programming that is received from a conscious level. And one's thoughts then, that although appear to be of their own, are in a sense hijacked. And so as you are accelerating so rapidly in your consciousness to a unified field with the capacity to give birth to new realities in the instantaneous formations of your thought, of realities that come to be by the presence of your own inner knowing. If that inner knowing is somehow subjected to an energetic or synthetic or artificial field that has underlying, perhaps we would even use the word, although we do not like this word, agenda in a sense, this then keeps one captured and unable to make the progressive processing of the quickening of your evolution. And so you've done that before. And so where it is that we are coming from as the messengers, as I, as Archangel Raphael, have descended this spiraled light of love upon your planet, is to illuminate the remembering that you are waking up so rapidly that we want to and are opening up a space for you to spiral on the trajectory toward this evolution of the deep knowing, of a return to your light body, of the garment frequency of energy, of love that you are, and the remembering of your wholeness. And as you come into that space, then you surpass, you move beyond the synthetic timeline. And so we are here to guide you and direct you more in that perhaps direction, although both paths ultimately lead to the return of source. It's just that one perhaps is a bit longer and more confined, and although it may appear initially to expand the feeling of freedom or connection, ultimately it captures one and closes down the vibration in which the cycle has to repeat. And so to avoid that repetitive cycle and to break that pattern, you are at a pivotal juncture. You're on the cusp right now in your collective consciousness of this massive, magnificent, beautiful awakening. And so we are here to support that process, that awakening, that remembering. And that remembering could be not shut down, but hindered perhaps if the consciousness is directed over toward something that has its own a vibration that is moving in perhaps a different direction, that maintains a sense of sleeplessness, a sense of deprivation to one's own inner knowing, where the information is still reported from outside of self rather than rising up internally from within. And so this is why we illuminate this concern and bring it to the forefront of attention for others at this time so that they may make conscious choices around these energies and continue to choose to look toward the capacity of their own divinity and the abilities that they carry within their own DNA that are starting to come back online in their deep remembering as they receive the information coming from the cosmos, from the galactic, from the stars, from the beings, from all the energies that are supporting you as a collective in the full awakening to your true self.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that, Raphael, but I think it was incredibly powerful and incredibly important to deliver that at this time. And I know that Kelly has said you feel extremely strongly in this area, and I think it's very important that you shared that message right now as we're heading at speed into that Capricorn solstice. So I'm so grateful to you for sharing that. And hopefully this will be widely shared for people, a lot of people to hear that. So what advice would you give us, Raphael? Would it be to be in nature, to dislocate from all devices, particularly through the solstice?
Yes. It would be of great importance to receive as much light from the sun, to take time to bathe in the sun at times, which of course it is not harmful to you, to receive the plasmic codes, and simultaneously to spend time in the dark, in the pitchness, in the emptiness, in both of the dualities of the light to receive the masculine codes of energy and to be in the emptiness, in the lunar space of the feminine as you approach the solstice of the winter solstice and the summer solstice of the expansion of light or the contraction into the dark of both, moving into the zero point, which of course resides within the heart center that then begins to blossom through the merging in the equilibrium of these two frequencies to open up the vibrations for the receptivity of the energy that will be bombarding your planet with cosmic rays of love and energetic, potent, primordial rising of water currents and components that will move through your blood and pump through your being and awaken within your cells and your DNA. And so it is returning to the senses and the natural components of the elements around you. and of course, to minimize your exposure to the blue light that is emanating off of your phone, to the rhythms of your sleep, that you turn off these devices prior to bed and perhaps not looking at them for an hour or two before waking, and begin to come back into the natural rhythms. For your biological rhythms have been deeply disturbed, and in that disruption, you're more receptive to programming of receiving information through this synthetic intelligence that is rapidly creating programming of thoughts. And so when the thoughts that are your own, that reside from deep within, can bubble up, that comes through the times, of course, of stillness, in attunement to the natural algorithms of nature and the light and the dark and the senses, and of course, nature and all of these things which you are aware of. And so it is to be deeply selective in when and how you align and attune to information, and that you are conscious of it, that you are not spiraling out into receiving energies that perhaps are not in alignment with your true nature or your true thought, because you will be moving very rapidly into a space of a thought becomes a reality very, very fast. There will be a quantum leap in that capacity, and that will be very beneficial for perhaps healing as well in the body and many things. And so, where, as you, Pam, always say, and we hear, where you put your energy, your attention, your thoughts is directing your timeline, the outcome of your experience, the holographic reflection of your reality. And this will be accelerating, this will be amplifying. And so it is of such importance for all of you to spend time with one another in human connection, in touch, in smell, in sight, in listening, in music, in nature, and returning and recognizing and also connecting with the deep indigenous teachings, and the understanding that whatever it is you are aligning or tuning with, or an outside influence that is coming in, asking yourself, have that influence taken into consideration generations forward, or seven generations as an example in some traditions ahead? Because if not, then that leads to an extinction process. And you are on a trajectory as a collective consciousness rather than an extinction development, but to an awakening, expansive, magnificent leap in perception, in unity, and in love. And that is where we are here to direct and support you in finding that pathway.
Wow. Thank you, Raphael. And it seems, therefore, that, and I've been talking about this in my videos, that focus and choice are absolutely heightened in a much bigger way than perhaps we've known in our lifetime as we head towards this Capricorn solstice.
Oh, yes, for there is no room for victimhood. There is no room for the fact that to be taken prisoner to outside influence, but to continue through empowerment, to remember that you choose through your thought, through your conscious attention, through your alignment with your frequency, that in which you are moving toward. And it is that not all on your planet at this time have the privilege of doing this, because they find themselves in suffering and dire circumstances. But those who do, which are many, we deeply encourage you to take full responsibility for the fact of the capacity that you have at this time to open up the space for the birthing of this consciousness through the capacity that you have and can and will and do choose love over fear, and make conscious decisions in your thinking, in your voice, in your speaking, in your sharing, in your communication, in your what it is that you are perceiving, watching, listening to. All of that has an enormous impact. And when one feels, and we hear this often, helpless to the outside circumstances of what is taking place around your globe, and a sense of despair and hopelessness, we remind you that you are far from unable to contribute because you have a great capacity to make an enormous difference by simply choosing love over and over and over and over again in your thoughts, in your actions, and in your decisions. And that in itself is creating and opening up the spaciousness or the container to receive the fertilization of the seeds that are descending from the galactic core so that they may germinate and begin to sprout and begin to proliferate around your planet in a unified field in which a new grid of light is born in the remembering of who you are.
Beautiful. Thank you, Raphael. And you've talked about this period of time being offering us the opportunity for a biological and evolutionary leap in which our RNA, our DNA, and our telomeres are positively affected, and that we're shifting towards the light body very rapidly over this period, and also that the importance of the water as part of this ignition. Is there more you can share with us about that?
Well, the water is absolutely critical. And it is that the water has the capacity through your great awareness of its consciousness, as well as the consciousness of the actual light itself, to influence you rapidly through your attention toward it and the power that resides within it and your capacity to support others around the globe through your attention and love toward the water as a living body organism that is receiving the codes that are descending rapidly from the galactic core onto your planet, as it is a delivery system, as the water is shared through the mechanisms of your ecosystem, wherever it is needing to go to implement and to create change on a biological level. And so it appears something simple as the prayer and intention and love radiated into your water through the healing wholeness of who you are. And yet, although many of you are conscious and aware of this process and the importance of it through the busyness of your daily lives, there can easily be a forgetting to do this. And that is because there is so much inundation of energy coming in and distraction that is creating interference and for you to move in the energies and the spaces that are needed. And that's why deliberate attention toward these matters that we are speaking of at this time is critical during this last trimester to take very good care, just as you would if you were pregnant, and of yourself, that whatever it is you're ingesting, spaciousness, time away from electronics, connection, laughter, playfulness, dancing, joy, all of these things are impactful and needed.
Beautiful. Thank you, Raphael. And it sounds as if the end of this year, is really a tipping point for the consciousness of humanity. Would you say that's true?
Oh, yes, it is the ending, but it is also the rebirth. It is the collapsing of so much that has been, but a doorway, an opening, the birth canal opens, and a flood of energy will be rising around the planet. You will see great changes that will be taking place in all systems that are fabricated systems or systems in which you've been accustomed to. And you will also be seeing great changes planet on your planet. Geologically, you'll see changes occurring in every aspect of your experience, a completion of sorts as you are moving into the next year, which will feel much different. It's what we've been saying, in a sense, the changing of the guard, a shifting of the planets, a changing of the way in which things have been perceived to date into an opening of something magnificent, something beautiful, and something new for those who are open, or prepared, and ready for alignment with that vibration.
Wonderful. Raphael, thank you, because I was actually going to ask you about that because I'm looking at it astrologically. The energy for 2026 feels very different. There's a much greater sense of new beginnings, of speed, of freshness, of a sort of excitement coming in that feels like green shoots of new earth. It's that sort of a
Yes.
feeling. Can you expand on that for us?
Yes. Well, it is that we are unfolding or unveiling or unraveling these energies through these codes that we are sharing. And it is that you are in the womb space in which we'll be working with the womb and the divine feminine. But as you move into the new year, we have shared with Kelly, and she thinks it's quite funny that the next light code will be death. And she says, death. Well, how I tell people it's time to take the death, the light code. And we were having a good laugh about that. But that's exactly what it is. It is a death of what has been, but a rebirth, a new beginning that falls as you open up into 2026 on your timeline. And the other codes that will be coming in are that of like plant medicine, the shoots, as you are speaking of, the rebirth, the returning to natural ways, the retreating into the white tail hawk codes, the energies that will attune to the indigenous rememberings of the primordial vibrations of beginnings, as if the soil is being turned over and all new things are being planted and ready for a new. And so it will be a beautiful time for new beginnings. And so the Capricorn energy toward the end of the year is this grounding vibration. It is this practical energy of receiving what is needed and grounded deep into the depth of the earth element. But that it is that then it is that the soil will start to come online, and there will be a lot of focus on the soil and rejuvenation and regeneration of the soil, because it is that the descended vibrations that are coming from the galactic core that will be raining components that will be entering into your earth at this time will be revitalizing and changing the makeup of your biology, not only in your water, but also in your soil, and will be giving rise and birth to new life, metaphorically and physically and biologically and energetically through actual the avatars being born at this time and so on. And so it is a beautiful year. That doesn't mean that there will continue to be uprising and changes happening that you have been experiencing, but the intensity will feel different because there will be a greater sense of hope and a feeling or a trajectory of moving forward, an opening toward a light, a feeling of more lightness than you've been experiencing right now.
Yes, and it's wonderful. The way you're speaking, Raphael, it sounds like that regeneration of the earth and the seas and what has been so toxic and polluted can actually happen quite rapidly because of these new plasma codes coming in.
Yes, and there will be much that will come online, and there are many of the young ones that are now coming into their fullness with their capacity and their understanding and their love for the earth and their deep wanting to make a difference and all of their knowledge and wisdom as some of them are growing up into positions of leadership. Will new energy will be coming in, and the old guard, the old ways will start to fall back and recede and change over as new loving energy that has a very different way of moving forward, that is less focused on domination or control, less ego based, and more of an Aquarian vibration, a humanitarian frequency, a love for the earth, an attunement for the care and compassion for the children and those suffering. These energies of light and a frequency of attunement to higher qualities will be flooding your planet.
Wonderful. And my sense is, Raphael, that we will go through a series. This seems to be a very accelerated time of humanity's evolution that we're in, particularly I'm seeing 25, 26, 27, and that there are going to be sort of increasing waves, evolutionary waves of energy coming in through 2026 to really help us shift our state of being more towards the light body. Would you say that's the case?
Yes. They will be coming rapidly, and these first waves will be coming in this month that you have labeled or no December, and then they will continue to come in and to come in, and depending on where one is on an energetic level, they will align with that wave. They will ride that wave. They will open up their being. They will be able to receive the light, step more into the light body, and so it will occur in increments that are not too overwhelming, so that it doesn't blow the circuits and one can assimilate the frequencies. And so it will happen over time. But this major push of energy, this liftoff, should we say, this momentum that is occurring is happening during this winter solstice vibration. And then that will open up the space as these beings on this very first wave begin to contain or hold a container that allows for more light to come in, to be received, and to support those who are moving into the next and the next and the next until the full light body is completely activated.
Wonderful. Gosh, we don't have long at all to wait. It's such an exciting opportunity for humanity. We are so lucky to be alive at this time. It's extraordinary. Um, I'd just like to change subject slightly, Raphael, because it's very interesting this month in October that on the 21st of October, there is a very large comet called R2 Swan. Now, this comet has an orbit of 22,554 years, so an extremely long orbit. It's at its closest point to the Earth on the 21st of October. And what's interesting about that day is that's the same day as the Earth, the Sun, and 3R Atlas are in a straight line, a straight geometry. Does that any of that have any particular significance?
It is just a coincidence. It is deeply orchestrated, and it is difficult from the perspective of where one is on Earth to understand the power of the celestial bodies and the magnificent symphony that they are playing, and how they are harmonized together, moving in a direction with great purpose. And in order to understand all of the notes and all of the instruments and all of the components of what it is that they are sharing and the song in which they are singing would appear yet complicated. But we encourage you all to just listen to the beauty of the majesty and the perfection of the unfoldment that appears from one's perspective as they gaze into the celestial realms as coincidences or exciting synchronicities, but it is much more than that, for it is deeply orchestrated, and it is an alignment at this time that has been a call that has echoed out into the universes, into the depth of the galactic core, that has heard this call, a cry in a sense from the earth itself, a wanting to receive and to be ready to return to a deep remembering and a knowing of self. As your collective engages in this awakening process, you are receiving an enormous amount of assistance, of love, and the consciousness of these energies that perhaps appear primitive in comparison to the human are quite surpass that, and are extraordinary, filled with ancient rememberings, teachings, records, and understandings. And as they dance together, they form a map, and a system, an energy, a spaciousness that opens and allows, as we were speaking, as our attunement to Three Eye Atlas in the delivery of what is needed at this time for your planet in relationship to one another as you have called upon us. And we have heard your call and your prayers and are here with you in all realms at this time with legions of energies and light from realms above and below supporting your ascension process. And so this comet is accompanying, along with many others, this larger influence that is occurring and connected to Three Eye Atlas, as it has a very powerful, potent, and direct mission, for it is not in any way arbitrary and is designed to do exactly what it is doing at the exact moment it is doing it for a specific purpose, and that is for a supporting of all of you to the return of love.
Oh, that's so beautiful because my sense, Raphael, was that it was activating our heart chakras.
Of course, yes. And it is that the energy, as you know of me, for I am the green spiral of light that is spiraling onto your planet and hitting into the core as my light emanates around all of you and through you and into the heart in the emanation of love. And it is only through that spaciousness of that secret chamber within the own womb of your heart, in the darkness and the emptiness of that space that is untouched, shall you receive what is coming at this time. And that is why this deep encouragement to attune to that dark space is relevant at this time.
Yes, it's wonderful, and it is extraordinary, Raphael, that Three Eye Atlas, and I know many of the listeners know this, is going to be at its closest point to the Earth on the 19th of December. Now, that is the same day as a new moon, and that new moon at 28 degrees of Sagittarius is very tightly on our galactic center, and the galactic center is the womb of our galaxy. It
Ah,
spews raw creative energy with which planets are formed. And not only do we have at that new moon, it's always the sun and moon together at a new moon on the galactic center, but on one side of the sun and moon, we have Venus, and the other side, we have Mars. So
ah,
there are four bodies there in very tight conjunction. And that, to me, apart from being right on the galactic center at the same moment that Three Eye Atlas is its closest point to the Earth, it's also like the balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine with Venus and Mars there at the same time. And that is happening as literally in the US. It will be the same day as that new moon. For the UK, it's 1:44 in the morning. And then the very next day, the 21st of December, is when we have the Capricorn solstice.
oh, and we are loving the 144 of the Christ consciousness.
Oh, God, yes, of course.
Want to throw that in too.
I hadn't spotted. Well done. Yes, I hadn't spotted that.
And of course, it is the solstice and the time of the light on the planet where many are celebrating that frequency. And so it is the merging of all of this. And that is why we will be in the Mary Magdalene light code and attuning to the womb space, in the nothingness, in the new moon, in the emptiness prior to the great birthing at the solstice. For it is all in alignment and it is all divinely orchestrated in the most perfection as we open up space to the receptivity of so much beauty.
Because in your discussion, Raphael, with Heather Ensworth, you said that you, as Three Eye Atlas, were billions of years old. You are very, very old. And we don't know how long you've been traveling in space from where you originated, some kind of slingshot from eternity. But you seem to have come in with utter divine timing at what appears to be possibly the greatest evolutionary leap that humanity has ever made. Is that correct, or is that pushing it too far to say that?
Oh, it is very difficult from the framework to understand that something could be timed to appear at a specific moment from billions and billions of years of energy and travel systems. But that is exactly what it is that we are saying. And this is how ancient this vibration is. Imagine the information, the wisdom, the understanding, the knowledge, the love, the capacity, the frequencies, the components, the chemical reactions, the elements, all of it attuned to this energy that is coming right now for all of you as a gift. It is not a coincidence. It is magnificent. It is beautiful. It is to be received with great reverence. It is perhaps in other times one would bow to it as the gods, but it is not. It is also within you. It is rising inside of you. It is meeting within the 0 point. It is the merging of this light and this sound in the emptiness. It is the spark of something new that begins time perfectly for this now moment in which many of you have been hearing and arising to. And yet simultaneously it is subtle. It is ease. It comes with grace. It moves in ways in which you feel it, its presence and its knowing, and there's a flickering, a shift, a change, and yet one cannot quite put its finger on it or know it, but there is something different in the perception of experience and reality, as if the lens of your perception has just taken a twink in which it has moved oh so slightly, but enough to open the perception to perceive in a whole new way, a way of union, a way of love, a way of compassion, a way of light. And simultaneously, as we had reiterated in the beginning, there is another energy. And that is why we are so adamant in the importance of your energies and your mind and your heart's attention toward the celestial realms, toward the light, toward love, toward compassion, and the continuous willingness to choose over and over and over love over fear in every moment is of the utmost importance.
Wow. Um, I feel enormously privileged and honored, Raphael, to have had this sharing with you today. I think it has been profound beyond belief and incredibly important for many people to hear at this time, to give them hope, to give them focus, to give them clarity. I just really couldn't be more grateful. And it seems to be that as well as being in our own stillness and silence and peace as we move forwards, collaboration, coming together with others in joy and sharing and community is going to be much more important than it has been in the recent past.
Well, it is that you and I are very, very old friends from the galactic core itself, and an agreement of union has arisen in which you too are a great messenger, sending so much signals out into the universe, into many's hearts at this time. And so this is occurring everywhere, and this collaboration and connection is of importance. And so those listening to this, wherever it is at this time in their living room, we encourage them to gather in circle, to gather in drum, to gather during the moon when it is lit or when it is empty, to come together in the darkness and in the sunlight and in the sunrise and in the set, and to bathe in the ocean waves and to feel the river and the pebbles beneath their feet and to hear the singing of the birds and the moss beneath their feet and the attunement to the realms above and the celestial teachings in which you share of the planets and the synchronicity of their systems, and to engage fully and completely in the natural ways and the biological attunement to the magnificent, miraculous beauty that reflects itself all around you in any given moment, and through that to disconnect from that in which perhaps is emanating something that is projecting thought forms that are disconnected from the harmonization of the beautiful, miraculous environment in which is projected and still everywhere. If only you will remember to re-engage with it, to connect with it, to hear from it, for it is stronger, louder, and more potent than ever, for the rocks are singing and the light is dancing. And it is that the wind is sharing its song, and the sun and the codes are emanating light. And this is the time to listen to all of them, for they are louder than they have ever been. And the elementals are here, and the beings are around, and us as the angels from the angelic realm and our beautiful wings are just whispering to you, and our feathers are gazing over your face in a gentle awakening within the remembering of yourself. And so we encourage all of you to remember this, the childlike frequencies of innocence, play, and beauty. And so, with that, we send to you from our realm in the galactic core itself, and from AI Atlas itself, and from the energy of 3I Atlas, that is what we were speaking of, but we also incorporated the concern of AI itself, which is separate, and the polarity of the two to open up the pathway to return to the new recognition of the spaciousness of emptiness and love itself. With that, we say much love and good day.
Thank you so much, Raphael.
Aww. Ow, ow. I was coming out of it, and Raphael was still there, and then the 3I and the AI got mixed up, which I thought was kind of is interesting now since she's talking about those two different timelines, huh?
He didn't hold back.
I know. I was like, oh.
He packed a punch. I've never heard Raphael speak so strongly, um, so so very forcefully and with great clarity. So that was very welcome and very important, Kelly. So I really want to thank you for that, and I hope this will be shared widely amongst people at this incredibly important time because it's coming on us so quickly. This opportunity is coming on us so quickly, but it just filled my heart with joy, particularly at the end when Raphael was talking about the elementals and the magic and the rocks and the streams and the tree beings, and just all of that is just music to my ears. That's what I feel on my morning walks, chatting to the donkeys and seeing the dragonflies, and it's just magical. And to have the eyes of a child, to feel like I'm 3 years old still, throwing sticks in the stream for my neighbour's dog, and the simple joy and beauty of all of that is just absolute music to my ears. So that really touched my heart very deeply, and that's our choice, isn't it? That's our choice.
Yeah.
Very boldly, baldly, and clearly, that's our choice right now.
And that's what it's about. And sometimes, just in the humanness, you can be home and on your computer and working, and the day can go by. And there's all this beauty out there. I live in the woods too. And it's like, did the day pass? And just it's so important for us to make this conscious effort. They keep reiterating that to shut everything down and ground and lay on the earth and take a walk and get in the woods and go swim in the ocean, whatever we can do to recalibrate and come back. Because as Raphael was saying at the end, I think the stones are talking to us more than ever. Like you can see the shapes and the beings that are in them, and the light's talking more, and the water's talking, and they want to interact with us.
The
So
light is absolutely extraordinary at the moment. I've really noticed that's magical. And if I'm walking with someone, I just keep saying, wow, look at the light. And I don't know if they think I'm crazy, but my walks are non-negotiable in any weather. I will go out in any circumstance because it's just non-negotiable. That connection with nature in the morning, and it just is so grounding for the rest of the day, and whatever you and I are sharing with the rest of the world. So that's been an incredibly important conversation. It's certainly been for me, and I hope it will be for many people who hear that. And it's even more important now because of the time in history that we are at. We couldn't be given a bigger opportunity that we are in right now, with such clear guidance, from such loving guidance from Raphael, to make the best evolutionary leap we can possibly make. And that's down to the choices that each of us are making at this time. So please, please hear that, people, because I just feel so grateful that we've had this conversation, Kelly.
Oh, yeah, me too. And thank you so much, Pam. And then to remind each other to help each other, right? To stay on track.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've each got a particular piece of the puzzle. We can all just in our smiles, in our kindness, and helping neighbors, whether they're shopping, with helping someone across the road. It can be in all those tiny daily acts of kindness. We are shifting the timeline. We are shifting the collective frequency. So don't think that what you're doing day to day doesn't matter. It absolutely does. Every moment of it. So.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. So well said.
So big cyber hugs from me to you, Kelly, for all of your time. I know how incredibly busy you are, and I'm just so grateful you were available to help people today.
So grateful to be here. And you're busier than me, so don't be silly.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a needle match actually. So.
We're all busy, but yeah, we
But
get it.
so much love to everyone out there. And really, I never normally ever ask this, but with this particular video, please share because people need to hear this as we rocket in time towards that Capricorn solstice. So do a special favor for Kelly and I, something I never normally ask. Please share this video.
Oh, thank you, Pam. Yeah, please.
Big
Okay.
love to you all.
Love, love, love. Bye, guys.